am going to be making a recipe from the American Woman's Cookbook, circa 1938. I was going to be doing corn oyster, which is actually a vegetarian recipe. There are no oysters in it, or fish of any type. But when I went to the grocery store, I forgot to get the cooking oil. I got butter, but I forgot to get more cooking oil, so that recipe is off for today because it requires to be deep fried in cooking oil. So we're going to be doing a modification of the recipe for in a Jiffy Cake. Ingredients for this are 1½ cups of sifted cake flour, 3/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 3/4 cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/4 cup of melted shortening, which note on that in a minute, and 1 beaten egg. So it says melted shortening, and I did say I forgot to get cooking oil. According to this cookbook, shortening is any fat, animal or plant-based, that is used for cooking. It is not specifically the white paste shortening that you would normally get in a can at the grocery store, because at the time I don't think that had actually been invented yet, and shortening was literally just classified as cooking fat. So let's get started. Alright, so we are going to start with the dry ingredients. It says sift dry ingredients together 3 times. In the late 30s and early 40s, flour was not as consistent as it is now. So instead of using cake flour, I can just use all-purpose flour, and I do not happen to have a sifter. So I'm just going to have to mix the dry ingredients extremely well. I've done this with cakes recipes before, so it should turn out all right. And when I said it was modified, it's because this only makes a 1/8" layer cake pan. I do not have a 1/8" layer cake pan. However, I do have Cupcake cake tin. So we're going to be using this recipe to make cupcakes. So we are going to start with our flour. And all ingredients that I use in this will be listed in the video description at the end, or so you can get them. 1½ cups. My personal preference is not for using this, it's just too big for my container. Come on in, Jace. Just don't knock the camera over, okay, buddy? Also, please wash your hands before starting any kind of baking project. I did, I just didn't do that on camera. And I'm going to move this because this cookbook is almost 100 years old, and I'm trying to preserve it in the best possible shape for as long as possible. I was very lucky to find it at the used bookstore, and I know I won't be finding a replacement of it anytime soon or easily, and I don't really want to. So it's going to go over there so it doesn't get sprinkled with flour and vanilla and oil and everything else. So there is 1½ cup of flour. 3/4 of a cup. Okay, so. You open it up. Probably should have done this before I started the video. Shit. Oh shit. I'll just put a little less on this last one. That will make up for the sugar. And I'm gonna have to clean that up. That is exactly why. I did not want the book sitting right here on the table. Because I am clumsy and I knew I would do something like that. Alright, so our sugar. Salt and baking powder, that will be it for our dry ingredients. Just get all that from being caked. Switch. Oh, yes, I did switch those. Okay. That one turned out very bad. Okay, so we're just going very quickly. Go back to the bright one. And we will put in the correct amount of salt, which is 1/4 teaspoon, instead of 2 teaspoons, like I was about to do like a dork. Just be careful because that does come out fast. Go. And now we are going to mix this very well, and then I will be adding the dry ingredients. Or the wet ingredients. And if you don't have a sifter, because every single bread and cake recipe in here says to sift the ingredients together 3 times, just mix it until it kind of has a like breadcrumb-ish look to it, or a graham cracker crumb look to it. be doing how much of that. Let's get this flour put away so that there are no accents. Along with that. Okay, so after sifting, combine remaining ingredients, add gradually to dry ingredients. Beat mixture for 2 minutes. Alright, so that would be 3/4 of a cup of milk. I will be going to grab one of the ingredients in a moment because it was melted shortening, which I used a melted stick of butter because that is listed as a acceptable form of shortening for this, and I think it will give the cake a little bit better coloring. So there's the milk. Teaspoon of vanilla, just make sure that does not say tablespoon because I have been known to misread those. Nope, just teaspoon. Alright. And we're just using imitation vanilla extract. No, Riddle, you're going to have to wait to go outside. There we go. There, since those are all going to have to be washed in. So here is our 1/4 of a cup of melted shortening. Hopefully this is still 1/4. Yes, it is. Okay, good. Actually, it's a little more, which is good, because I also plan on using that to grease the pan, since I do not have any spray at the moment. And since I already know the rest of this, we're going to put this away. Just again, because I do want to protect that book with how old it is. So I'm just going to very quickly, oops, oh, it's closed, fine. Very quickly, since there's a little bit extra butter here, just use this and just grease all these up really quick because, yeah, I don't have any spray. I also don't have any of the little cups at the moment, and the last thing I want is for all of these cupcakes to stick in the pan. And this is also a way for me to make sure there's no chunks in this, which there shouldn't be. It should be completely melted, but there are just a couple white spots in the butter. And they're not from the milk because they were there before I poured it. this will brown the sides of the muffins a little better to give them a pretty good flavor too, or the cupcakes. All right, there we go. And I'm gonna fall over. All right, so I'm going to pour that in. Last ingredient will be the beaten egg. Should have grabbed a fork for that. I did not grab a fork. Anyway. Get our egg in there. Grab a fork. To stir this for 2 minutes. Since I'm trying to follow the original recipe as much as possible, I am avoiding using my stand mixer, and I am actually going to stir it until it has an even consistency. Jinx, move your furry little orange and white nose away from that cupcake tin. Thank you. It seems a little dry, so I am just going to add an extra splash or 2 of milk. It does have a good cake batter consistency, but I don't want it to be too dry for me to actually pour into the pan. There, that's a little better. All right, it's getting there, almost done. Definitely smells good. So for anyone interested, this is how it looks. And I'm not adding any flavoring or other than the base from it because, as I said in the beginning, I am trying to keep this as close as possible to the original design or to the original recipe. Because I am curious how it will turn out and how it will taste. Alright, now the fun part, not making a mess. So far, it is looking like it will fill all of these cupcake tins up. I am really hoping it will. And then because it does say to bake for 30 minutes, but that is for a cake, I'm going to lower the baking time down to 22 minutes, since that's a bit more standard for cupcakes. And the last thing I want to do is make this, have it where it would be amazing and just completely flavorful and then burn it. So yeah. looks like we might get all but 2. I'm gonna try though and just scrape enough batter off the sides of this container to get the last 2 filled up, because I am a lazy person who doesn't want to reach around. I am turning the cake pan or the cupcake pan towards me. Let's see if we can get these 2. Okay. Definitely one of them. We might only be making 11 cupcakes out of this. Scrape all of this remaining batter as much as possible. Push it in, and let's see. Make it 1/2 cupcake size. There we go, just enough left to do it. Alright, now I'm just going to give these a quick shake. I found that when you make homemade cupcakes, instead of having to take something and smooth out the tops of the batter, it is easier to just hold it up like this and shake the side, and that will pretty much smooth and blend all of the dropped batter in there for you. There you go. Alright. Now we're going to put this in the oven, and we will be back in approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Or actually 22 to 25 minutes, but yeah. We are back. Here are the cupcakes. I have already put a fork in one of them to test it, and we're just gonna pull them out, see how they look. They are completely cooked. Honestly, these are the best smelling cupcakes I have ever made. And that's saying something, because I do a lot of baking. Not that I make a lot of cupcakes, but I do quite a bit of baking. And this is the only recipe I've ever made where I have barely had to make any adjustments. But yeah, this is how they look. So we're just gonna pull them out to cool off the rest of the way. And we are gonna cut one of them open just to get a closer look inside of it. Just because I wanna see, like, compared to the recipes I would usually do, how this looks, just because it is slightly different. Not too much different, but very slightly. We'll use the little mini one to do that. Jinx, you cannot come in and out of the basement every 3 minutes. I love you. This is getting on my nerves. Come on. Just going to cut this last one. I'm going to move the camera slightly down to a better angle so you guys can see how this looks. And then I will try and give you guys a close up. So I'm just going to cut right through that. Oh wow, that has very good consistency. And it smells really good. It smells delicious. So this is how they look on the inside. Fully cooked, no problems whatsoever, despite the fact that I had to do adjustments on the recipe, which is honestly great. Because because a lot of the times when you have to adjust the recipe, you have to do it 2 or 3 times or there will be problems. I did cook them for 24 minutes instead of 22, and I cooked them at 350 degrees. Obviously, cooking temperature and times will vary slightly by your oven and altitude, but I'm just going to test one of these and let's see. That is the best cupcake I've ever had. It's not too sweet, it's not too bready, and it is, and this is even without the cake flour, with just all-purpose flour, because there's a slight difference, but not much. It's incredibly moist and incredibly soft and completely melts in your mouth. I am definitely going to have to do more baking recipes from this cookbook. Yeah, I can't even describe further how amazing and delicious this is. But yeah, I hope you guys like the recipe. Again, it will be in the video description, and I will try and do one in grams and metric measurements for people, in metric measurements for people who may be viewing from outside the U.S. But yeah, like and subscribe if you want more videos, or don't, but throw me a comment about other things you might want me to cook, anything I did wrong, anything I can fix, or just say, hey, I actually liked watching your video, so I know people are seeing it. Anyway,